were singing. They had a guy there that was apparently he was a worker at airline, one of the airlines, one of the guys that was and he got on a microphone and he sang God Bless America and a couple other songs. And the whole time we're going through, and people were standing up all over the place. I mean, just cheering, going crazy, coming out, wanting to give you high fives. It was really neat. Flight was wonderful. You know, they gave us sack lunches. The kids painted all kinds of things on bags, on brown bags. I mean, they had signs and all kinds of stuff painted on them. And they gave us those bags, and they had a wonderful sandwich. And I think Arby's did it. It was an Arby's and sandwich and cookies and stuff, and had a drink. So that was on the plane. We get there, and the same thing in Baltimore. We walked in Baltimore, the airport. Everybody in that airport was just lined up. They had us, and all the volunteers. This group has volunteers all over the United States that come to the airport there, and they helped, did everything. I had a girl that pushed my wheelchair. She was from Roanoke, Virginia. She was about 40-ish. And she and her husband were government workers, hated their jobs. But she says, I do this because I love to do something like this. A wonderful girl. She pushed me all over Washington, D.C. I mean, yeah. And she was tough.
Yeah.
And then we got out of the airport, get on the bus. Bus driver was a black man. And they said, he's only done 20-some trips. He's been doing it for 12 years. He knew everything about us. He told us that we were going down to the White House. He said, there's if you line up just right, you can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the White House. And so he'd stop. And we'd look down there. And I'd never seen any of this. A lot of guys had, but I had never been to Washington. So get to the hotel. Nice, beautiful dinner. We had a wonderful, it was, of all things, a pot roast. Can you imagine a thick, big chunk of beef about that thick, and it just breaks off with a fork, and
that was a big deal.
They're trying to do them in, aren't they?
I mean, it was just great, and we got to meet all of our friends. We had maybe 6 to 8 at the table. We talked to people. I sat with different ones each time. I sat right next to Rosie the Riveter. She was a funny gal. She was a Mexican Indian from New Mexico, and she was a member of I think one of the tribes, either Navajo or Hopi, but her name was Mexican. It was Gallegos.
Garcia, wasn't it?
Or Gallegos, but she was 99. Wow. Sharp as a tack. Wow. Sharp. She was telling us all kinds of stories, and she was so small. She was smaller than you. She was so small that she was one of them that they put inside the wings. Because when you rivet, there's a guy riveting, and then there's a person on the other side that has to blunt the rivet.
Right.
I forget what they call that. There's a name for it. I can't remember. She told us, but she had a gun in there and a plate, and she would blunt each time a rivet comes through. She'd blunt. I mean, she said I was crawling in. I had maybe an inch of room in different places, and she said, but I never got stuck. But she was really funny. She said the only problem was a lot of us lost our hearing doing that. Because the noise was, because they're riveting on tin, actually, or steel or whatever the heck it is. It was just, anyway, get up the next morning, and we get in this bus and we start. And I mean, we hit the Second World War Monument, we hit the Korean Monument, we hit the Vietnam Monument. We had a monument to the nurses of the military, all the nurses, in a big, beautiful statue. In fact, the guy took pictures of all of us doing this, and he did it on videos. So you can see us going in the airport, and you can see the people cheering, and it's really awesome to watch it on video too. You just go on our flight, az.org, and look up our trip, because all the trips are on there every trip, and you go by the March 27, 23 trip, and it's all the pictures of us and all the things we did. this gal was pushing me on through all these monuments, and she said, "We're in the Second World War monument." She said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Arizona." "Yep, okay." Because this thing's a big circle, huge
Where to
thing.
go.
Yeah.
And Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, every state has a monument.
Well,
So she takes me to the Ohio one, and I have my picture taken. She takes a picture, and then she says, "Where else you want to go?" I said, Arizona, Ohio." And so we went to different ones, and I said, "How about Florida?" So we go to Florida. That's where my sister's from.
Yeah.
So it just,
And he was born in Cincinnati, that's why.
that's why I want
Yeah.
to
Go
go.
to the-
But it's just a wonderful thing to have. And then from there, we go to the Korean, and that's the one that got me. Because I don't know if you've ever seen this or not, but they made soldiers, and they're statues, and they're in action. And these guys are all in rain gear and raincoats and gear. And you look at their face, and their eyes are looking at you. Wherever you go, their eyes, it's like a picture. You know how a picture sometimes will follow you around the room?
Seen that.
Yeah.
This thing is unbelievable. And every kind of possible guy in different things during the Korean War. They even had a rock soldier, which is a Korean, South Korean soldier. They call them rocks, R-O-K. And they had one of him in there, and he was, I think, a radioman. They had the big radios and with the antennas on the back. In those days, radios were like 80
Yeah.
pound things that they carried on their back with a big antenna. And okay, then we went over to see the Lincoln Memorial, and that's an interesting thing to see. You go up to it, and you can barely see it when you're. I couldn't walk up the steps. It was, it's 100 steps, but I have a picture that I could see him in the back of the shadows. You could see him sitting up there on his. I guess that's an impressive thing to actually
Oh,
look and
yeah.
see.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. The thing that we got a big kick out of, these guys kept showing us, he said, "No, if you take this picture, you're going to get all these things lined up. Like you can see, everywhere you go, you see them worshiping them. But then you've got the Capitol. You can always see the Capitol. It's almost in every picture. And then you can see the White House. I have a picture where the White House is kind of in the background. That evening, they took us up to near Dulles Airport. I forget what the town was, but the American Legion hosted us, and all their people were there, and they, big dinner and everything. The whole thing was just a wonderful thing. We were so tired at the end of the day, and all of us were dragging. But